Hello, my fellow extraordinary Americans. Welcome back to the show. For today's guest, we have Tia Cristy. Tia Cristy is an entrepreneur, author, speaker, and a personality and tips expert in health and beauty through radio, television, and print. In 2012, she launched her blog site, tipsfromtia.com, which at one point had reached over 1 million unique visitors and 80,000 plus subscribers and followers on social media. Tia and her Tips from Tia have been featured in podcasts, radio, and television. She had her start in radio. She was initially hired to run a studio board. However, after 4 days in answering a simple question on air from the morning show host, she was given her own night show in Atlantic City that started many adventures for her over the years across the country, working in different markets and genres. She was an on-air producer for the number one rated morning show in Philadelphia. She is also the nighttime host for the top rated station in Seattle. With over 20 years of experience, Tia has worked with artists and celebrities throughout the years, conducting interviews and announcing headlining artists for sold out arenas. She has also taught radio and production in Washington, D.C. for CSB. Tia has been featured on places like iHeartRadio, Daily Times, CBS, Viacom, and TEDx. I believe that Tia is an extraordinary American, and that is why I've invited her as a guest to the show. Tia, are you there?
Yes, hi. Hi, Cosmo.
Hi, Tia. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So, Tia, I know that you're an entrepreneur, you're an author, you're a writer, and you've been in radio. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, your background, and how you got started?
Sure. I mean, wow, you gave such a great rundown. I'm like, wow, I did all those things. It's pretty impressive. Yeah, I've been a radio personality for quite a long time. And I also have been a writer. I started with the school newspaper in fifth grade, and then just kind of built up from there. I ended up going to like the local newspaper and then kind of got some national writing stuff and started doing magazines. And then I developed Tips from Tia back in 2012, which was, it was kind of a very unique story how I started that. But to my surprise, it was definitely something that people needed. And it was very, very well received. Uh, I'm still shocked how well received it was.
It's
Yeah.
definitely something I'm going to ask you about later in the interview about tipsfromtia.com because when I looked at the website, I was really intrigued by it and how it just provides like proper advice for things. So, but before I get there, I wanted to ask you, Tia, what was your overall strategic vision and goal for your life, like throughout the years throughout your career?
Okay. Well, that's easy. I mean, we plan to be the Martha Stewart of chips, where we want to become that number one source for, life hacks and natural alternatives. But yeah, I see with tips from Tia, I see that going um, to great levels where, we'll eventually have like a product line, hopefully in, local Walmarts and Targets and different things like that. So, there's a process to get there, but the vision
I
is
mean,
pretty
it's
clear.
called basically the entrepreneurial process, right? Like you're
Yes,
basically it's all about figuring out how to grow and scale things.
yes, yes. And being able to pivot, there's no straight line to where we're trying to go, but there's a lot of great things in the works and a lot of great people behind it. So I'm hoping, the goal is in 5 years to have a product line in the stores.
So Tia, what is like the motivating factor or the why that got you to start on your career path in the first place over all these years? And what is the thing that you're passionate about most that made you go forward with all of this?
Well, I think many entrepreneurs feel this way. It's definitely about helping people. My why, especially for tips from Tia, is to reduce everyday stresses for people by showing them life hacks, natural alternatives to different things, and simplify everyday lifestyle problems that people face that can really bog down the mind and cause major stress. I am a big advocate I'm sure you saw my TEDx, but I'm a big advocate of reducing stress. And I know that the average person out there nowadays is totally stressed out. So
Oh my God. Don't even get me started on that. It's just been like a stress fest altogether, like all over the nation and just like all over the world as well. Like people are just so stressed out all the time in general.
oh, yeah. I mean, there are so many people that probably have never heard of the word burnout before until the pandemic. And now everybody's like, oh, I don't want to get burnout. And I'm like, oh, honey, you're like right here. You might have already had it. But yeah, if I can help eliminate some of that stress for people, I so badly want to be able to alleviate that.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that is influencing a lot of people today. It's just stress, right? There's a lot of different programs out there to reduce it. Like some people even suggest yoga, meditation, or just like having like a slower breath. But overall, yeah, you're right about that.
Right. Well, I was going to say for anybody that has not seen my TED Talk, it's so important to know what kind of stressor you are. Are you a frazzler or are you a silent stressor? And knowing which one you are. And sometimes you teeter through
Can
both,
you
but
elaborate a little bit about like what are those two types of?
sure, yeah. Okay, so the frazzler is like, yeah, the person that gets stressed out over everything and has to express it, and they have the ability to stress out all those around them. Where the silent stressor kind of stresses, they suffer in silence and they keep everything bottled in, and they keep a smile on their face and they just say whatever to a lot of things, but internally they have a lot of pinned up energy and stress going on. And so between the two of them, you know, there's different forms of how to handle the stress because, like the point that I make is how many times excuse me, how many times do you see a frazzler meditating? Like it's not going to happen. But then like a silent stressor only meditates on their problems. So to kind of like flip the switch and say, okay, silent stressors, get out there, take action. Take it to the sidewalk, do a run, get active. Where frazzlers, learn to meditate, and do quiet time and reflect in silence and really look inward to try to help alleviate some of those problems. I mean, there's much more that goes into it, but that's a little cliff note to get you started.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely consider myself the latter type, right? Like I sometimes hold it all in, or I would just like try to just breathe slow and just try to like get it all out somewhere by like going on a walk or something. But yeah,
Yeah,
different people have different ways of like dealing with stress. But I feel like in today's world, it's pretty hard, because it's just
it
such
is.
a it's such a fast paced world. Like there's so many things going on. It's not like how it was back in the ancient times where people had more time. It's a fast paced environment.
Oh yeah, and back in old times, you there were times where you had to sit, and just reflect. And, obviously, like, we get daylight savings and, in the wintertime, it gets dark a whole lot sooner. That was that was time where they didn't have electricity. They didn't have devices that were constantly keeping them going and using up brain power. It was, when the sun went down, you kind of just had family time and then you went to bed and you slept and then woke up when the sun came up. And, there's so much pressure on us to go and continue and give more than we have. So it's really important nowadays to replenish and recharge yourself and find ways to do that in a proper manner instead of, a lot of people will say, oh, well, I'm going to take a me day and they'll go shopping. It's not about going on a shopping spree. It's about, replenishing that love, that self-care back into yourself. So you have more to give. People are grumpy because they're pushed to the max. And when you push to the max, you're going to break.
No, totally, Tia. So, Tia, when it comes to, let's say, financial freedom and trying to be free through entrepreneurship, a lot of times people that are starting like a new business, they go through a lot of stress. So, in your experience, what is the biggest lesson you learned throughout your years in overall when it comes to like just like trying to like scale a business and also like handling the stress while doing so? Because it is
Wow.
pretty stressful to a lot of people.
Oh, it is. Absolutely. Yeah, it's not for entrepreneurship, it's not for the faint of heart. Seriously. Um, there's a lot of pressure that goes on, and consistency, I think, is the number one lesson that I learned. Consistency is key with everything. So, especially from like my standpoint, building like this website, I if I take a break, even for a couple days, that's readership that I'm losing. That's followers that I'm losing, sponsors that I'm losing. So, it's consistency really is important, and especially the line of work that I do. Um, but also, we live in such an instant gratification society, which means that also people look for instant results in everything that we do. I mean, you put dinner in the microwave and it's done in, 2 minutes. Um, well, honestly, sad to say, like when you're building a business, it doesn't work that way. You can't just, say, "Oh, this is what I'm going to do," and then bam, it happens. It takes a lot of time and effort and um, care and cultivation, and you have to, you know, there's this people always, go back to the farmer and, you got to sow the seeds and you got to harvest and, you got to do these things in a timely manner. And you can't rush the process or you're not going to produce the fruit or the crop. So with business, I think it's the same thing. Yeah, there are ways to kind of catapult ahead in certain aspects. Finding the right people to kind of guide you in that is so super important. But you can't expect to, come up with an idea and tomorrow it's complete. No, tomorrow, hopefully you implemented it and you started the process and you're already starting the growing process. It's just not instantaneous like most people think.
I see. So, in regards to that, right? A lot of people, when they're starting like a business, they're going through all these emotional ups and downs because, when you're doing a business, like there's going to be ups and downs. But in a lot of times, it's pretty stressful to do so. What is your advice to people or listening to this on how to handle their stress levels, in terms of like the challenges that they face while they're trying to scale and like make their business successful?
Okay. Yeah. Well, breathe. Definitely breathe. That'll get you far. Yeah. So you got to you got to take care of yourself. You got to make sure you're eating. You got to make sure you're sleeping. We hear, most successful people only sleep like 4 hours a night. Um, Me personally, I don't function anymore on 4 hours a night. I need six to really work. Some people need eight. And I'm
Yeah,
not
I
knocking
I
that.
I need 8. I don't know how you're doing it on 6. That
Yeah,
is pretty crazy.
yeah, and I
You're
mean,
on 4?
yeah, some people are doing it on four, and I'm just like, that. Honestly, I, I don't think that that's appropriate because when you're sleeping, that's where your brain is actually growing more brain cells and replenishing. And if you're not doing it proper, then brain cells die off every day. I mean, I'm such a nerd when it comes to the brain and everything like that. So just bear with me. That's where a lot of tips come from and the mental health and stuff like that. But it's if your brain cells are just dying off, but you're not sleeping and eating and doing all the right things, you're not replenishing them. That's the stuff that replenishes those cells. So no wonder people can't function after 4 hours of sleep on a steady basis, unless that's what your body is used to and that's what it does. So, what is good for one person is not going to be good for everybody. And I think the number one thing to reduce a lot of stress when starting a business is stop comparing yourself to everybody else. It's not going to do you any good. You got to run your own race in this. And I know there's like a lot of cliches that are being thrown out while I'm saying this, but you really do. You have to run your own race because um, nobody else can run it for you, and you're obviously not capable of running somebody else's. So
Tia, it's really interesting that you mentioned that about like comparing yourselves to others. I feel like a lot of people, and I know this is pretty relevant because you have worked with artists and celebrities over a number of years over your career, and a lot of people compare their lives to the lives of artists and celebrities, and they feel like they don't add up or they don't measure up. Like that's the perfect life that they're supposed to live, but they're not able to. But then the reality that it overall makes them more depressed in general. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that's another part of that instant gratification thing that people have is, um, I have been very blessed to work with a lot of artists and celebrities, and, I grew up around that world. So, um, I've never been phased by, the glitz and glamour of it. But I have been very, blessed to see the hard work that goes into it. And there's a lot of hard work that goes into it. And, you know, they made it to where they are because they worked hard to get there. And,
But, like, that's not what, like, the most of people believe. They think that they're, like, privileged and it just happened just like that, you know? A lot of people think that they're just lucky or they met the right people at the right time, they had the right connections and
right.
all that. But
Yeah. So
what is the
that's
reality
so
of all
funny.
that?
Yeah, that's so funny. I'm gonna tell you a story real quick. I was doing um we Firefly in Delaware. It's the festival that they have, usually summer, early fall. And so I was doing a bunch of interviews and, like they have artist village and everything. And I'm sitting there and I start talking with Adam Carson from AFI. And I said to him, I said, "Oh, well, everybody's saying like you're this overnight sensation." And he started laughing and he was like, "I've been working for 18 years to get here." He was like, "I mean, I've been sleepless nights, fights with the wife, like da 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 da." And he's going on. And he was like, 18 years overnight success. Yeah. And it was just so funny to see that. People want to show their scars when they've worked that hard to get there. So I think it is important for people to understand, like, if you have the determination and the drive and the tenacity, like you can become what you want to become, but you can't just sit there and wish it and dream it and voila, it happens. It takes a lot. It takes a lot to get there. But if you got it in your heart and you got it in your mind and soul, like you can make it.
I mean, like, it's interesting that we're talking about this because, like, Extraordinary America is all about, you gotta work hard, you gotta work smart. It's a lot of process, like, success is not an event, it's a process, right? And a lot of people think that celebrities are, like, overnight sensations. They just got there just like that, but the reality is a lot of them had to work really hard behind the scenes, and they had to have kinda like the drive and the determination, but that's not usually, taken into account, you know?
Right. And, I think a lot of times, like they'll look at like um child celebrities and then they sadly, some of them just go the wrong direction. Um, people are like, oh, that's because they had too much privilege too quick or whatever. And I think what happens is, and this is just my opinion, I think what happens is a lot of times they were pushed by somebody else's dream. It wasn't exactly their dream, and they got pushed into doing that. And, I mean, you can look at, you know, just look at Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears. I mean, they basically came up together in that world. And you see where one went and where the other one went. And, everybody loves Britney and, I do too, but it's Justin ended up going into, directing and producing and creating. And, you know, he he just he just went a different direction, and where Brittany, she was still, and I think still to this day, like, up until Free Britney, but she was still forced to perform and kind of like do this puppet thing. Not that she didn't love it, but, like it was forced on her instead of being, her passion and her desire. So I think that's why it's so important to know what your true passion is. You can't dive off of somebody else's passion and push because, you're gonna hold resentment. You're gonna find the first out and you might go in the wrong direction, so you gotta do what's good for you.
So, regarding passion, I had a question. So, what do you think? What do you think should people do in order to find their passion? Because I feel like a lot of people are working in their jobs, and even when they're trying to like do their or like start like a business, they're not really passionate about it. It feels like they're almost mechanical and robotic in doing so. I would say so for 90 to 95% of the people. So what would you tell most of the people on how to find out what their why and their passion is? How would you advise them on finding that?
Okay, well, I love this question because I actually just talked with somebody last night, and they have the 9 to 5 job. They're happy, but it's not what drives them. It's not the thing that they want to get up for in the morning. And we had this conversation maybe like 2 years ago, and I am so proud of this person because in the 2-year period they have made it to where they're still doing their full-time gig, they're still doing their full-time job, but in the process, they opened up a nonprofit, which is where their heart was, their passion. And, they're working it. They can't put everything into it just yet, but they are working it. They're working the steps and they're out there and they're making a difference. And I think a lot of times when you are solely focused on, like I think a lot of people have it wrong when they think about money. I want to be rich, and you know, I want to do this for the money. Like they make really good money, so that's what I want to do. Yeah, and I mean, money's a great tool. We all I think know that money can make a lot of great things happen. It can give you financial freedom and stuff like that. But if that's your drive, that's really the wrong passion to have. If you're not out there trying to make a difference in the world or impact other people by sharing your message or your skill or something, um, I think you might have it wrong. That's just my opinion, but I think you might have it wrong. And you need to rethink like how can you make this world a better place? Because I believe that that's the whole point of life, helping people out and leaving this place a little bit better than the way I found it.
No, totally. I actually agree with you because I feel like a lot of successful people, like this is the pattern that I've noticed. So most successful people, they have this passion and they follow their heart and then they find a way to monetize it. And then it doesn't feel like work at all. Whereas for most people, they're focused on the money, but in the process, it's just not working out, because they don't have that drive or motivation when things go tough. Because a lot of times in business, it's gonna get tough eventually. There's gonna be these lows. It's kind of like a valley kind of low, and most people will not get out of it because they didn't have that passion or that why that is going to push them forward.
Yes, and if I can, that is something that I just heard, over the last year was somebody was saying passion is not something that you just enjoy. It's something that you are willing to endure. And that resonated so much with me because when you are building something, there are some really hard times. I mean, it gets scary there, and you live in a state of discomfort on a daily basis when you're creating something and you're trying to make this huge impact, and you have to get comfortable with it. I mean, I planted my flag there, I live there in discomfort, but it's so amazing to hear it's not just what you 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 care about, but what you're willing to endure. Because, when you think of, um, something that you're willing to endure the pain for and still love it, that's something. That's really something.
No, yeah, totally. I know, like in my own life, there's large periods of uncertainty, and I have to go through a lot of endurance periods where things might not seem right, but I still have to go through because I know what my why is. I have this vision in my mind, and I'm going to accomplish it no matter what. There's this almost like mad determination, but it's difficult to have unless you know your why, like
Mhm.
why you're here, what's your purpose, and all of that.
Right. I totally agree. I absolutely agree with that.
So Tia, you know that there's a saying that America is the land of the free and place where dreams are made. Do you agree or disagree with that statement?
I agree with that. Yeah. I think, I think again, it comes down to, I grew up with the mindset and the parents that told me, I can be anything that I want to be. And I think that that's a beautiful thing to teach their children. Some people might disagree with that, but I really think like it's so important for parents to let them know, like, you know, in America, you can be anything you want to be, and be happy with it. So it's funny. I think that you know, socially it makes it a little bit harder because, you know, the celebrity status has become like such a thing where people are like, oh, I just want to be a celebrity now because, so and so is on, TikTok and, they're making tons of money just by posting videos every day. You know, um,
That's so
and
true.
it does happen. I'm not gonna lie, it does happen. But again, you don't know the work that so and so is putting in to make that happen. And trust me, a lot of my stuff has to deal with social media too. And it's a lot of hard work that goes into that. And it's one of those things where just because, they post some videos doesn't mean
I mean,
instantly people are
I was
just throwing cash at them, you know?
actually, speaking of that, like there's this like video of this thing called The Island Boy and about these two guys that they just became instantly famous. And right now, the Gen Z, they think that that's how you're going to be like rich and famous. You just do this video and it becomes a viral video. And all of a sudden, like now you're famous for the rest of your life. What-
Yeah.
Do you find that crazy or like, what do you think about that entire like viral sensation or like
You know,
viral?
I know it's funny because like you can sit there and try to say that there's rhyme and reason for things going viral, but there's not. It's one of those things where I think it kind of comes off like a fluke and it becomes like a chain reaction. You ever see that? I think there was a video about it, but there's also like a picture that was going around like during the pandemic where it's like a pack of matches and all the matches, like one lit and then the rest lit. It does happen. Like there is,
But
I
Tia,
think,
like the audience wants to know like a magic formula for going viral.
I
Everybody wants to
know.
go viral.
You know what? I
They
did
were
I
hoping
did
that
a
you would have.
video on I did a video on cinnamon like a month ago and that ended up going viral for some reason on Instagram. And like I have no idea why. No idea why. It could have been the song that I picked. It could have been the fact that I made it look like I really know how to play drums. I don't know, but yeah,
I mean,
I
forget about going to the moon. Forget about finding the cure for cancer. This is the new thing that scientists are going to look about: how to have a viral video so that
yeah,
everybody can be famous, right?
right, exactly. But I do. I think there's like, did you ever
Yeah,
hear the story?
look what our culture has come down to. I mean, there was a time where we used to like want to find cure for cancer, like just do all
I
these
know.
inventions and all that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. There are so many more important things. That is true. And I'm not going to knock it because, I do rely on it, but it is one of those things where I think that it should be praised again for, you know, kids that want to be firefighters and police and,
But that's
construction
not viral.
workers.
Like, how can you
Like,
go? I'm just kidding.
but I'm just saying, I think that it really should be applauded because I think that it's so important to realize, like, especially like trade jobs, they're so important. They really are so important. We need them, you
No,
know.
I agree with you, but I feel like they're unappreciated and there's not enough gratitude for these jobs because like they're the things that you do every day. It's only when these people walk away in mass, and
Right.
that's only when society will start valuing these things. Because yeah, firefighters, doctors, like they're the ones that actually make society run at the end of the day.
Right. But and you're saying just how you said that though, like it starts with one standing up and saying, "Hey, let's applaud these people again." And then all of a sudden, two people, three people, and then it goes viral. And that's really how it works. I believe it's a vibration, honestly. Did you ever hear the story? It was like, I don't, I can't remember it like verbatim, but it was like this like breed of monkey. It was on one part of the island, and then I think somehow it like the other half ended up on another island. And scientists went and they just they actually like watched them, and it was funny because what happened was what the ones were doing on this island. Within 2 weeks, then on this island they started doing the same thing, like the same habits, and it was really wild to see because there was no interaction, but it was a vibration, and that's what they called it. The vibration happened across the ocean or whatever to make them do the same kind of patterns. And I was like, I think that's what happens with humans too. We do something and it becomes a vibration and we end up doing the same kind of patterns. So who knows? Well, you have to get Dr. Larry to talk to you.
No, definitely. But like as a continuation of this, right? So, you know, a lot of people when they think of the American dream, they are thinking they're thinking about either the white picket fence or in this case, like a lot of times like the celebrity lifestyle. But according to you, what do you think is the definition of or like would be the definition of of the American dream?
I think the American dream is knowing that you can have it all, but you better know what all you want. And I think that that's important because a lot of times people, again, they want the fame. They think they want the fame until they have it, and then they have to see the work that goes into it, and it's a lot of work. Um, they think they want it until they see, how secluded certain things can be. When you're out there in public, you have to be, you have to be very aware, that you're out in public, and you have to kind of have like a support system with you, because you just you can't just go walking down the street, like people think you can, but you really can't. Um, so it's very interesting how people's minds think they want certain things, but you really need to be sure. So, like my American dream, to be able to do my business, help people in the process, um, you know, be financially had that financial freedom and be able to help people. I think it really comes down to the five or six things in life where, it for me it's my faith, my family, my financial freedom. Um, Also, what do I
I love that you're saying this, Tia, because a lot of people like when it's come to the American dream, they become so superficial. It's the reason why I'm asking, where I'm joking around with the entire celebrity thing,
yeah,
you know, because they've lost what their true value of what it means to be like an American is altogether. It all came down to your faith, yeah. It's and things that were of depth, you know. That's how it used to be, and then somewhere along the line, people just got distracted with because there's not much to do. Like they have all this abundance. America has become the richest nation in the world. So what happens when you have now first world problems, like the third world problems are taken out of the equation. Now you just have to think about all of these things. But
right.
I I like that you're saying that it's all about faith and family and essentially all of these deeper things.
Yeah, and, I mean, helping other people, philanthropy, joy, wisdom. These are the things that matter, These are the things that keep you growing. And honestly, I think, I'm a huge believer in you have to keep learning every single day. You have to, because what's the point if you're not learning?
No,
Yeah,
totally. I mean, learning is an important part of growing altogether, right? And
right.
if you want to reach somewhere in life, you have to learn and you have to grow. You have to get educated in the field that you want to that you want to achieve altogether.
Yeah.
So so yeah. So Tia, in America, you've noticed over a number of years, there's been a lot of deterioration in not just like the financial sector, but also in family and government. Where do you think America is headed, and should we be optimistic for the future?
I think yes, we should be optimistic for the future because I think that a lot of a lot of people are kind of sick of the way things have kind of gone into, just everybody's walking on eggshells about everything anymore. The pandemic really, really caused a big change, I think, for a lot of people where, you gotta remember, like, people, they lost they lost family members. They lost these freedoms that we thought we had, just, even going out to the store or whatever. And some people, I mean, losing all human contact altogether, that's major. Like that is one of the worst things that could possibly happen to somebody. I mean, it is proven that, a baby within the first 20 hours of being born has to be touched or they'll die. Like that is a fact. So, to go 2 years without having human contact, that's been really, really tough mentally on this country, on this whole entire world. So I think with the deterioration, I think a lot of people have had their fill and they're like, no, I want to get back there. I want to tell people that I love them. I'm telling strangers I love them. I mean, when I go out, I think it's so funny because when I go out, I am so um I guess kind is the word for it, but, I'll see somebody, I'm like, "Hi, how you doing today?" I am such a greeter, and I try to spread that joy to somebody else, and I will tell you about 80% of the time since I have ventured out, um, the person will laugh. They'll laugh at first with surprise, and then they will engage in the conversation. But I know that I took them back. Like they were so taken aback by my approach and my kindness and everything like that. Because just think about 2 years ago, people were fighting over toilet paper. So
I remember that. That was so ridiculous. I mean,
yeah,
I, I couldn't. I thought that that was proof that the world is going to end. Because
right,
if you when you're fighting with toilet paper, oh my god,
yeah. And it is. It's there's a theory. It's called the broken window theory, and I don't know if you're familiar with it, but basically the whole theory is usually in regards to like neighborhoods. So if you go into a neighborhood and it has broken windows, people think, oh, these people don't care about their neighborhood, so we're going to trash it. We're going to put graffiti. We're going to do all these things. But if you go and fix that window, it will reduce crime. It will reduce, negativity in general. And I feel like that works not just for neighborhoods, but that also works for people in general. I think that if you go in with a positive attitude, you're going to get one back. It's, treat people how you want to be treated. It goes back to common basic skills that we learned, in preschool years, treat people the way you want to be treated and you'll get that same kind of respect in return. And if you don't, well then a lot of other people get up in arms at the fact that you didn't get treated with respect because you were giving it. And that single person that was being the jerk is now, put on the spot. So, just be kind. I know it sounds corny or whatever. It
no.
might
In
even
fact,
sound
it's a really simple thing. What are you just saying? It's just that people don't do it in practice. I
yeah,
mean, I think on a certain level, people want a lot of people. It seems want drama rather than just like doing the simple thing of treating others as they would want to be treated.
right. Yeah. So I do have hopes. I do have hopes for America, but I think that people really need to, get out of their own way in the process. Step in, practice self-care, not selfishness. It's really what it comes down to. And I think pra- people need to know when you practice self-care, that is not being selfish. It is not. You are allowed to take care of yourself. You have to take care of yourself, but be kind in the process to others.
Speaking of self care, Tia, can you tell me and the audience a little bit more about tips from Tia.com and the premise of how it got started and just the entire thing altogether?
Sure. Yeah. Well, the way it gets started, well, yeah, let me tell you, it's a site on health, beauty, lifestyle, home, and I have like different buckets of, like some tips are on relationships, some are on work. We boldly went in the direction of doing sexual health too, which I was kind of hesitant on, but I think it's important to have a source for people to talk about things that could be embarrassing, or it's a reliable source, it's a trusted source. And I wanted people to be able to feel secure in going and finding the correct answer on certain things. So that can be found. I mean, it's not heavy in that content, but it's got a little bit of help for, alternative, natural ways to go instead of always going for Western medicine. But you got to remember too that we consider it also an entertainment site because we're not doctors. Yes, we have done our due diligence and done the research to make sure this is appropriate, but always, always, always check with your doctor first before trying anything that you read on the internet. Anything, and because the whole problem was there was a lot of information out there. We're what did I hear? It was a meme that said, we are inundated with we're inundated with information, but we're a society searching for wisdom. It's just that's really what it is. I mean, there's just too much information out there, and who knows what's real and what's not. So, um,
I know I ask that question all the time.
yeah, and it's scary, like Um, so like one of the ones that really got me was, um, how to get red wine out of a carpet, and like the answer was put white wine on it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like my head hurt so bad reading it. And I was like, that's awful. Like how many people are there with like now a bottle of white, like pouring it on the rug? And it's like, oh, that's so wrong. Like it's just terrible. Don't do that. And I'm telling your viewers, like, don't do that.
So
But
fake news is not only just a political thing; it comes down to wine as well, huh?
oh, yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say that was the big I would say that was big first fake news actually, Oh, but, so how did it get started? I've always known tips somewhere, I have a filing cabinet in my brain that just kinda locks this stuff in, so I've always been like a treasure trove of being able to help people life hack things. Um, when I was a kid, my friends would call me MacGyver. You know, I could give you some duct tape and I could make anything happen. But it was basically back in 2012, I had bought a new house and it was crazy enough. It was like a new house, only like a year or two old. And I ended up getting very sick. Couldn't figure it out for a while. Um, in the process, I started having trouble with like memory and some of like my regular motor skills. It was really bizarre. Anyway, it turns out I ended up having mold toxicity poisoning from the house. So, which is quite dangerous. I don't know if you've ever heard of it before, but it can really, really mess a person up. So, um, got the house remediated and took care of everything. And it was about a 6 month recovery. And in the process, I wanted to, I'm a person that I have to keep going to, you tell me something's wrong, I'm going to figure out the answer and I'm going to make it better. So, to work my motor skills, I thought like typing was a really good one. And I I was starting to forget some of these tips. So I started writing it down and, I got a website and basically I thought my mom was going to read it. Like, thanks, mom, but in the process of me doing my therapies and getting better, I came to find out that it kind of blew up. People loved it. And, I had hundreds of emails coming in, just saying like, "Hey, thanks. I appreciate this." Um,
I think
so then,
at one point you had about a
oh yes,
million visits.
yes,
That
yeah.
is quite an achievement.
Thank you. Yeah.
Like,
So
there's so many websites out there. It's like really difficult to reach that level. So I'm pretty sure you were committed in whatever you're doing.
yeah, yeah, it was really cool. And I did. I started out with like just quick tips, um, you know, like to get, the smell out of your sneakers, throw them in the freezer, or um, you know, I can only think of freezer things right now since I said that. Like, get candle wax out of the candle holder, put it in the freezer. But yeah, so it's like I had these really short, quick tips that were going on. And then I realized like, no, I better start making it longer. Like this is really becoming important to people and it's changing their lives. And, in the process of me doing this to better my life, I'm helping other people and how cool is that? And now they're changing my life. And, what a cool little circle that made. And I figured, you know, I really had to start taking it seriously. And yeah, I did. I hit a million unique visitors, which was just astronomical. And today I think we're up to 90,000 subscribers. So it's pretty cool.
Congra- Congratulations on that. I would definitely recommend your website to my audience. Yeah, I think
Thanks.
a lot of people need just like tips on just like different things.
Thank you.
So
I appreciate that. It needs to be updated. It's getting a facelift, but yeah, the information on there is good,
awesome. So Tia, is there a body of work or anything that you're doing right now that you want the audience to know more about,
Oh, yes.
or like a
Well,
book that you're
again,
writing?
yeah, well, again, we're revamping the website, so it's gonna get a nice little makeover and all that stuff. So, look out for that. And um, but yeah, no, the bank situation, that's in the future. There is hopes because I write fiction. I love writing fiction. That's my other passion. Um, and that's the one I do for me, I think. And it gets my gears going and it's my little time out from everything else that I'm doing. So maybe one day I will make sure I release that to the Tips from Tia people as well. But the thing that I am getting ready to launch very soon is a voice program. I started helping out a lot of different executives and speakers. I've been in the TEDx world now for a little bit, and um, so I had people approach me a lot and say, "Hey, can you help me with, projecting better or, being more articulate?" And what an honor. I mean, that's really a cool honor that, they come to me for that. So I'm getting ready to launch a course where I'm going to teach people how to find their natural voice. So I'm very excited about that.
That is awesome. So Tia, how can the audience go to where do the audience go to connect with you and get to know more about what you're doing and reach out to you if necessary?
Oh, cool. Yeah, I love that. So tipsfromtia.com is the website. Always can get me there. And my email with that is just Tia at tipsfromtia.com. But on social media, I'm on Facebook, Pinterest, um, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and that's all Tips from Tia as one word. Tips from Tia.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, Tia, I really appreciate that you came to our show as a guest, and you're pretty much an extraordinary American, and you've done entrepreneurship and you're in the process of branding. And it's really unique. Relatively very few people are doing what you're doing. And we really hope that the audience can get inspired and start their own journey to attain financial freedom.
Thank you. You
Yeah,
are extraordinary, Cosmos. Thank you.
yeah, we definitely want you back to the show. And I want to conclude this show by telling my fellow extraordinary Americans that there's an extraordinary within each and every one of us. And it's our duty to unleash it and awaken it. Until next time, bye for now. Hey there, everyone. Thank you for watching Extraordinary America. If you like what you see, please do subscribe to our podcast and share it with others. Remember that the best investment that you can make in your lifetime is in your own financial education, for it is knowledge that truly sets you free. Also, remember that your purchasing power is being diluted through inflation, and then the practical thing to do is to protect the loss of your purchasing power by investing in precious metals or the right cryptocurrencies. Also, never forget that you are an extraordinary American. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.